You're listening to Bookin' Around Town with Jocq on the Audio Flow.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bookin' Around Town. I am your host, Jocq, and I hope that you had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. I spent it in New Orleans at Bourbon Book Bash, where I had a chance to hang out with a couple of familiar faces and also had a chance to connect with some new authors that I may not have had a chance to meet if I, didn't attend these particular events. So keeping with that, I love this show because it allows me to go to different events or go to different cities and connect you with authors that you may not be familiar with. So that's always fun, meeting new authors and adding new books to your TBR. That seems to never stop growing. It just keeps going and going like the little Energizer bunny. But that means if something ever happens and not another book was ever printed, then I guarantee that over 99.9% of listeners and book enthusiasts could be okay with that. That's the fun thing about one-clicking and attending events. It's really hard to get through all of those books. So yes, add more books to your TBR. Today, we are meeting an author that I just met last week through Red Coat PR, and it's so interesting that I've started to build this list of mystery books and cozy mysteries because over the last few weeks, those are people that I have been chatting with, either authors or narrators who are dipping into that area. So I'm taking it as a sign that I need to read more cozy mysteries. And this particular author's titles have made their way to the top of my list. So please help me welcome Kassandra Lamb. Welcome to the show, Kassandra. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being here on Bookin' Around Town. It's been a while since I've actually had a show, so I'm glad that we get to have this opportunity to speak about your work and your upcoming release and all that good stuff. So don't be nervous. And I'm probably gonna call you Cass now throughout the show since you've given me permission.
Yeah, Kassandra's a little bit of a mouthful.
Well, imagine being called Jacqueline.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
How many syllables is that?
Really, usually one more than most people can get used to.
Exactly. That's why I chopped my name down to Jocq. That way I don't have to have people take too long to try to figure out how to say my name. So
there you go. I like that. It sounds French.
Thank you. It is. Technically, it's supposed to be Jacqueline, but nobody says that except my mother. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my husband is a linguist, and he's particularly fond of the French language.
Oh.
So I will tell him that your name is Jacqueline, and he will be tickled.
Oh, yay. And then you can just record him saying it, and then, I can just listen to it. I'm sure it's beautiful.
There you go.
Well, again, welcome to the show, and
thanks so much for having me.
Well, I'm glad that Rick has the task of introducing me to new authors and having us connect so that we can share you with listeners. And I will say that you are probably maybe the third author that I've spoken with who writes cozy mysteries. And so I'm really excited to kind of jump into what it is that you write and what directed you in that particular genre. But let's backtrack a little bit and find out a little bit more about you and what you actually did before you decided that you wanted to write full time.
Okay. I was a full-time psychotherapist for 20 years, and I was a college professor for 17 years. There's about a 9-year overlap, so that's why I'm not even older than I am. And I retired from my psychotherapy practice in my 50s and just taught after that. And then I started getting more into my writing, which had always been something I loved, but never seemed to have time for when I was trying to make a living. So that's what happened. And here I am 2 series later, with coming up on 13 full-length novels under my belt and 4 novellas.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've been pretty busy then, and
Yes, I have.
and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So you were a psychotherapist, which is a really, I don't want to say a big word. It's not a big word, but that's a really interesting profession. So did your profession help you with any of the writings in any of your particular series? Like, were there any illnesses or any things that you dealt with on a day-to-day basis that helped you put those into some of your books?
Yes, actually, my first series, the one that has 9 books in it now, is the Kate Huntington mysteries. Kate Huntington is a therapist herself in the mysteries, and she has a best friend who's a lawyer. And between the two of them, they have all these interesting cases that come up that end up sucking them into investigating some mystery or another. And that was that series I started in my 40s, but never really got any further than the first few chapters in the first book, because I kept rewriting those first few chapters. In other words, I was way too much of a perfectionist.
Oh, gosh.
And then finally in 2009, when I'd been semi-retired for a couple of years, I sat down one day to rewrite those first 5 chapters yet again, and somehow just kept going. And 6 weeks later, the first draft of that book was finally finished.
Well, I like that you were able to kind of take a little bit of yourself and weave that into the character. Now, are you a big fan of mysteries?
Yes. I've in my youth, younger years, up through my 40s, I guess, I read a lot of different kinds of books: saga, family history, saga, historical fiction, romance, especially romantic suspense. But somehow in my 40s, I ended up more and more just reading mysteries. And I think it was partly because it's the same reason I became a therapist. I enjoy, or one of the reasons at least, I enjoy a puzzle. I enjoy figuring out what's going on. So I enjoyed that aspect of working with my clients, trying to help them figure out what was going on in their psyches. And I enjoy that in my reading, trying to figure out what's going on in a mystery. But the other piece of it was that mysteries were as far away from my real life, especially my real job, as I could get. So when I needed to stop thinking about people's psyches and just sit down and enjoy a book, mysteries were the ones I was usually drawn to. Yeah.
Now, when you were reading these books, since you alluded to that you like to solve mysteries and puzzles, did you ever start reading the book and maybe halfway through you're like, I know who did it? Because that's me.
Well, sometimes I try not too hard to figure it out, because I want to just get immersed in the book and enjoy it. But yeah, sometimes you figure it out, and then the question is, am I right? And so you want to get to the end of the book to see if you're correct.
Right. And unlike a puzzle book, you can't just like skip to the back to find out what the answer is. You have to actually read it. And
I could, but I resist the temptation.
Yes, don't do it. Don't do it.
That takes the fun out of it.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're right. I'm the same way with TV, because Columbo is like one of my favorite.
Yeah.
I wonder if they did a revamp of Columbo, if it would be the same. Probably not, because Peter Falk just had this character and this attitude that just made you not like him, but like him, because he was so smart and kind of quirky.
Yeah, he was one of a kind, definitely. Yes.
And he always made you feel like Well, he doesn't really know what's going on, but he always did, and he was always one step ahead of everybody.
Yep.
So, as you were writing these series and you're writing these mysteries, did you have kind of any muses, either in television or books, that kind of helped you shape the direction or the tone that you wanted to go in your writing?
Well, I think not any specific TV show or writer that much, but just in general, the whole genre. I always enjoyed cop shows and mysteries. Like in the 80s, Murder, She Wrote
Yes.
was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And my son loved that show and still does. He still watches the reruns. And he was a kid then, and we used to watch and curl up and watch the goings on in Cabot Cove together. And so that was one influence. And then also Janet Ivanovich is one of my favorites with her Stephanie Plum series. So I do try to get a little humor into my books, although I'm certainly not as funny as she is.
I'm sure you're quite funny. We've had chats. You're a funny gal. Just so you know, everyone, we had this conversation before we started this episode, and Cass said, I'm a little bit nervous. And I said, well, just imagine us like, friends sitting around having tea or iced tea. And she says, no, how about wine? And wine's perfect, because who can't relate to sitting around having a glass of wine? It makes everybody happy, right? You're happier with wine. So
it's a little early in the day for me, so I had chocolate. That doesn't calm me down, but it does make me feel better.
Everybody gets a little comfort from chocolate and wine. Yep. And I spoke with someone else earlier, and they said cupcakes. So you can't really go wrong with any of those things. So
right. Yes.
So I guess when we finish our call, then you can have wine. And I'm giving you permission to have wine.
Oh, thank you. I may just do that.
You're welcome. So let's talk a little bit about the book that is releasing here in a few days, and give us a little background on the series and what we should expect.
Okay, well, this new book is called The Call of the Woof, not wolf, woof, WOOF.
Okay.
And it's book 3 in the newer series that I have going that is Cozy Mysteries. And the protagonist, the main character, is a young woman who trains service dogs for combat veterans, especially combat veterans who have psychological issues like PTSD. And the first book in the series is called To Kill a Labrador, and no, the Labrador does not die. The series is called the Marcia Banks and Buddy series, and Buddy is the Labrador, and Marcia, and it's spelled like Marcia, Marcia, but her mother pronounced it Marcia, just to be fancy, I guess. And so she has some issues about being teased as a kid about her name, which is one of several of her insecurities. But she and Buddy end up getting involved in various mysteries, usually related to the combat veterans that she's training the dogs for.
Oh, there's the train. Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I just wanted you to know that there is a train, and
okay,
usually
you
always happens
by that regularly, I guess.
But I'm looking at the book cover, and the dog is so cute.
Isn't he adorable?
He's so cute, and there's some kind of comfort in labs. I think is there a reason why you chose the lab to be kind of the secondary character or the sidekick?
Yeah, first of all, service dogs for combat veterans especially are almost always fairly large dogs, because veterans are usually pretty hefty people, muscular, strong, and sometimes they need to literally lean on the dog for balance or to help them get up if they have a prosthesis or something like that. So the general rule of thumb for service dogs for combat vets is that they're larger dogs. Most of the agencies that train the dogs, it's like a minimum of 50 pounds. So that was one reason, but also one dog that we had for many, many years. He was the puppy that my son grew up with was a Black Lab Rottweiler mix, and she was really, really a sweet dog. So in some ways, it's kind of dedicating Buddy to her memory. And he is technically has about 20% Rottweiler in him, but he's mostly Black Lab.
Oh.
And Buddy, that is,
Yes.
in the series. And that's also something that's common with the service dogs. They will use purebred dogs, but oftentimes they kind of prefer the mixed breeds because they live longer. They tend to be healthier. They're usually pretty smart dogs too. So that's one of the reasons why he has some Rottweiler in him.
I love labs, and it's just interesting. Like you said, they're really smart, and you gave me some good information that I didn't know. The reasons why, a lot of these service animals are bigger dogs, especially for vets, is that they can help them with stability and things like that. And also, it just seems like labs just are really comforting, caring animals. And I've not met a lab that I didn't see, even families who have smaller children. There's just something about their attitude, and I don't know. I think if I ever got another dog, it would be a lab, just because they're so cute. First of all, when they're puppies, and then when they just are very loyal. I guess that would be.
They're very loyal, and they're very sweet and affectionate. So they make really good family dogs for sure.
You were a psychotherapist, so I'm sure that you've had some experiences with patients who dealt with PTSD. But outside of that, do you have any experience with working with persons who've used service animals, or how did you do your research for this particular series?
Well, actually, I have a good friend who is also a psychology professor, and she's doing research for a group that trains service dogs for combat veterans. And she's researching to, so that she can definitively say, yes, these service dogs help the veterans, and these are the various ways that the dogs help them. And so I kind of have an in with her. So I've gotten some information through her, but I also do research online. I'm not a dog trainer myself, so I do have to definitely check out what I'm talking about and try to make sure that I'm not giving incorrect information. And but where the PTSD is concerned, I do know a lot about that, because as a therapist, I was a trauma specialist. I specialized in helping people who were recovering from various kinds of trauma. Mm-hmm. So I do understand PTSD kind of inside and out, for sure.
And you also have a fur baby that we sort of spoke about a little bit ago. So tell me a little bit about your dog.
She's real mellow, which is a big switch from the dog that she replaced, the very sweet animal who unfortunately passed away about a year and a half ago. But our current dog, her name is Lady, because she's so elegant. And she's part Black Lab, and best we can tell, she has a little bit of Great Pyrenees in her, because she has the funny little extra claws on her back feet. Mm-hmm. And she also seems to have some Greyhound in her, which is where the mellow personality comes from. So she's an interesting mix for sure, but she's just as sweet as she can be, and she keeps us company here in our old age.
Oh gosh, how old is she?
She's probably about 6. I rescued her last year, and they guesstimated she was about 5 or 4. They told me 4. The vet said probably closer to 5, and we've now had her a year, so she's about 6 years old.
It's nothing like a good, mellow, laid-back dog. I had, before I got my Shih Tzu, I had a Cocker Spaniel, and I rescued him as well. And I think I got him, he was 6. and he is the total polar opposite of my current dog. Buster did not play with toys. He just kind of loafed around, pet my head, take me outside, give me a treat, and that was it. And
Yep.
and Dallas runs around, plays with toys. He barks. He wants to go for rides and walks. Just total opposite. Just yeah, but it's nothing like rescuing a dog. It's very much like adoption, that you make that
Yes.
selection and you have that bond with that animal.
Yes.
And
Yes. And that is another aspect of service dogs. At least the ones I'm familiar with, that with the agencies I know of that work with combat veterans, they very often get their dogs from local shelters. And part of that, again, is they're looking for a mixed breed dog, which you're more likely to find at a shelter. And they prefer to have a dog who's already house trained and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also just trying to do one more good deed, help out the dog as well as the veterans by
Right.
adopting the ones that the rescue dogs that seem to be well suited to become service dogs, and then giving them the training.
Right. So I am looking through your book library here, and I know that the Kate Huntington mystery series is the one that has, I think you said 9 books in the series.
Yes.
Now,
there are 9 books and 4 novellas.
Okay, 9 books and 4 novellas. So, is there a particular order? Do we need to read them all, or can they be read individually as standalones?
They work as standalones. Everyone is a complete story, but the overall character development is best understood if you do them in order. And the first book in that series is Multiple Motives, which is permanently free as a introduction to people to try out the series. So Multiple Motives would be the first one to read in that series for sure.
Well, we like free, so everyone, if you are, if you're interested in learning a little more about Kate Huntington, the Kate Huntington Mystery Series, Multiple Motives is free on Kindle, Amazon. Is it also available on any other retailers or just Amazon?
It's pretty much everywhere. I have it on Kobo and iBooks and Barnes and Noble and some of the smaller distributors. So yeah, it's free on all of those distributors for sure.
See, she said free again, everybody. So
I like that word.
Me too. And free is the key here. Free. And I like that authors like to give readers the opportunity to get an introduction into their books and their characters by offering those first books free. Kind of hook them and reel them in is smart marketing. And for those of you who have not had a chance to read a cozy mystery yet, but you like those shows that we just chat about, it's very similar to that, but add a little bit of Cass in there with her sense of humor, and we're gonna get a book. And so I'd say definitely check that out. And so your next book is releasing on the 20th. Is it the 21st? It's
the 20th. Thursday the 20th, right.
Okay, so it's gonna be releasing in a few days.
Right. And that's in the second series. That's in the Marcia Banks and Buddy series. The one with the dogs.
And Marcia Banks, which funny, Marcia is my godmother's name, and it's spelled the same way. And so when I saw it immediately, I said, "Oh, Marcia." And
you're one of the few people who knows how to pronounce it.
See, I didn't think Marcia at all.
Good.
Well, I'm excited about getting the Multiple Motives so that I can have an opportunity to follow Kate and maybe get a little bit of inside information about you. Now, how much of that character, did you put any of yourself in there besides her job?
Kate's kind of my ideal self. Mm-hmm. She's the person I wish I was. She's a lot more patient than I am, for one thing, although she's not totally patient, but she's more patient than I am. She's kind of intense, but not as intense as my personality. So yeah, there are elements of my personality in her, but she also has her own traits. And it's interesting as an author, characters really do take on a life of their own as we're writing about them. Mm-hmm. And it's as if they become like real people to us. And so when people say, well, is Kate like you? It's like, well, that would be kind of like asking me if my brother was like me. Yeah, sort of, but still a separate person.
Right.
And a separate personality. So, and it's been really fun watching her age over the course. And in that series, at the beginning, she's 38. Mm-hmm. And the last book I wrote, the 9th book, which will be the next to the last in the series. I do have one more planned for that series. In that one, she's almost 50 and she's menopausal and she's dealing with a teenage daughter. And so watching her age and have to deal with the real issues of life beyond this, just the mysteries that she solves, has been really kind of fun.
I like that. I like that aspect that she's an adult and gosh, I'm just a smidget older than her. So that's going to be fun. A lot of books normally that I read, they're this mid-20s, kind of still getting to know themselves and all that fun stuff. But it's so different when you have a chance to read a book where someone's, closer to your age and you can really identify with the things that's going on versus saying, oh, I remember when I used to be like that. And
right.
Now it's like, oh, yeah, I just went through that yesterday.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And I guess as I continue through the series, then I can kind of see, oh, this is what I have to look forward to. And will I sound like that when I read it and saying, oh gosh, menopause? But it's always fun to read things again that you can relate to. So I've just added this to my TBR list, which you don't want to know how long that is, but it's on
mine's pretty long too. So
is it? So I don't feel bad then. Now you mentioned that the characters do take on a life of their own, which is something that I hear a lot from authors. The characters start developing and kind of writing themselves. And so where are you normally when you start hearing your characters talk to you? Because it seems like the bathroom or the shower is a really popular spot. So what's yours?
Well, I guess most of the time it's while I'm lying in bed. I'm old enough now, I never get all the way through the night without a couple of trips to the bathroom. And sometimes I can get back to sleep right away and sometimes I can't. So I lay in bed and I think about whatever book I'm currently working on. And one of two things happens. Either I fall asleep or I start having cool ideas about what to do in that book. And I figure either way, that's a win-win.
Right. Sleep or write.
Sleep or write. One way or the other, I'm going to have a productive night.
I love it. Are you kind of an old schooler where you have a notebook that you write your ideas in? Or do you record your ideas? Or do you have a laptop or tablet or something nearby where you can get your ideas out?
I will usually have a small notebook on me and I'll jot something down if I think I might forget it. But mostly I write at my desktop computer, and it seems like I can't really write anymore. I mean, in my youth, I could write longhand and pump out bad stories all over the place when I didn't know what I was doing as a writer yet. Mm-hmm. But now it seems like if I'm not typing, the brain doesn't work right. So I can't do the dictation thing. I wish I could, because I hear that saves a lot of time for writers, but I have to be sitting at a keyboard typing.
That's interesting. I've heard, everybody has their style. And I realize, some people like to write. I've spoken with people who have notebooks and some people use the dictation. I forgot what the software is called. And then you like to type. And I think that for people who don't write manually, do you think that's like a skill set that if you don't do it a lot, when you actually start writing, are you like me where I'll sit there and I'm like, how does a J go? I have to try to remember, it's got that loop at the top and you go back around And it's just some things you forget because everything's electronic now. Or is it just me? It could
Really,
just be me.
it's getting crazy where everything is electronic. So I do occasionally like to just sit down and write in a notebook just to
Yeah.
remember how.
Yeah, see, that's me. It's like, okay, I might need to actually write something because when you have to go sign your name somewhere, you don't want to stand there and say, okay, am I printing? Am I signing? But again, that could just be me. I have those issues, so I need to work on that. So that's something I should do in my leisure time is just practice writing. Like I'm 5. I don't know. I'll practice writing and have a glass of wine at the same time. How
There
about
you
that?
go. That'll loosen up your fingers real good.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'll just be writing and nobody will understand what the heck it is, but I've written something. And on that note, so you've been really busy and you're writing your new series. You've got your third book that's releasing here in a couple days. So what do you do to kind of refocus yourself or to kind of balance out your writing just to kind of have fun and relax outside of having wine? Because that should be number
Well,
one. It's everything
I've
falls under that.
right, right. I've gotten a little bit back into watching TV. For a long, long time, I didn't watch much TV.
Hmm.
Um, and now there's several channels out that have constant reruns of various shows, so I can watch the ones I really like without having to watch things I'm not interested in. So I've been doing a little bit more of that, but mostly there's a couple days a week. I call them my old lady days. There are a couple days a week when I make myself leave the house
Hmm.
and go out and go play cards with friends or play mahjong with people. I really need that and I really enjoy that where I just totally get away from the writing and get away from the computer because I never realized how much writing is an isolated job. And unlike most writers, I'm not an introvert. I'm a bit more of an extrovert. So I need to make myself go out and be around people every once in a while. Uh,
Yeah, so you play mahjong. It's funny. I've played it online, but I would not know how to play that with people.
oh, I've just learned it just in the last 6 months, and it's really a lot of fun.
Is it similar to like dominoes? How you play that with other
Now,
people?
it's really kind of similar to cards, except that you're playing with tiles rather
Mm,
than cards.
okay.
But you're looking for combinations of, like three of a kind or four of a kind or three in a row. And you try to go out by getting all of your tiles to match each other, basically, to be in either three of the kind or four of the kind sequences. And so it's very similar to playing like canasta or something like that.
See, now I'm gonna want to go and find a mahjong group so I can actually play it against somebody that's not me on the computer because
Well, you'll probably be the youngest member of the group, but they'll welcome you.
I'm not as young as everybody thinks I am, but I think it would be a lot of fun. And you mentioned two things that I think made a lot of sense. A lot of authors are introverts, and I just recently learned that probably last year that you spend a lot of time by yourself writing,
Right, right.
and so you're not around a lot of people. And because you're an extrovert, and that's the type of personality you have, you got to get out of the house. You probably
Yeah,
would go a little bit mad if you just stayed in the house all the time. Um,
definitely. Yes.
yeah, and then you're going out and you're doing some fun activities. So I like that. I like that you make yourself get out and get around people. Now, have you been to any book signings yet? Are you planning to do any of those?
Yeah, I've done a few. They're a lot of fun too. And again, I feel for my fellow authors who are introverts who have to kind of force themselves to put themselves out there. Although usually once they do that, they have a good time. But
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy the signings, and I'm hoping to do more of them in the future. I've really just recently started promoting myself a little bit locally. And that's really where you get the signings is the local bookstores and such.
Mm-hmm. So, are you doing any of them? Any more signings this year, or are you just planning for next year?
I probably the next one I'll do will be in the during March. There's a book fair in Venice, Florida, which is near where one of my friends lives.
Okay.
And every year we say we're going to do the book fair together, and every year something happens. So this year we're going to make it happen. We're going to do the book fair together.
That sounds fun. Florida books, wine, and chocolate. Oh,
there you go.
Perfect combo right there.
Can't beat it. Can't beat it.
You can't beat it at all. And so, okay, now will we be able to find this? I guess it's still in the planning process since we're in July. Technically, we're in July, but it's really almost Christmas. Do you know how quick the year has flown by? It's almost Christmas.
Almost.
In my head, it's December. So don't pay me any mind. I always say after February, the year is gone. And so we're not like almost in August now. But we'd love to be able to meet you. I don't know if I'll be able to make it to Florida, but will you have that information updated either on a website or Facebook page so that people know how to get in contact with you?
Yes, I do have a website. It's http://KassandraLamb.com. Very simple.
Okay.
And I'm also on Facebook under Kassandra Lamb. I really love talking to readers. That's one of the things that makes writing a lot of fun for me. So I'm also really happy when readers check out my website and contact me through the website or give me a shout out on Facebook. That's really fun.
Well, we're going to make sure that we give you a couple shout outs on Facebook. And everyone, her name is spelled with a K, not a C. So just to let you know, it's Kassandra and Lamb, like lamb chop. And so that's how you can find her on Facebook as well as her website. And feel free to go by and follow her on Amazon as well. Some people forget that there's a follow button on Amazon. And what I like about following authors on Amazon is that it updates you when there's a new release that's taking place. I don't have to try to track it down or anything like that. I get a nice little email that says, hey, an author you're following has a new book. And so we'll know when the new book's coming out. And also, everyone, just as a reminder, Multiple Motives and the Kate Huntington Mystery Series is available, and it is in free on all retailers where Kassandra's books are located.
Right.
So
Multiple Motives is free. Yes. The first book is free.
The first book is free. Make sure you go and check it out because I'm going to check it out. I wish it was on audio. Any plans to put any of your books on audio at some point?
Audio has been on my to-do list for 2.5 years now, and it never quite seems to make it to the top of the list, but I will try harder to get it to the top of the list. And especially, I'm probably going to start with the second series with the Marcia Banks and Buddy series on audio because they're a little bit lighter story. There's more humor in them. And so they would make a really good, fun story to listen to in the car or whatever. So definitely that's on the horizon to get them out in audiobook.
That makes me very happy because when I'm driving in the car, I'm walking the dog, all that good stuff, it's so much easier to get that book on audio and just pop my headphones on. And so when you're ready to do that, we'll chat again. I'll have you on the audio flow.
Cool.
Yeah, we'll move you over to my other podcast, and maybe I'll even connect you with some narrators who might be a good fit for your series. So
that would be
win-win
wonderful
too. Yes,
that would be wonderful.
I have everything. I wear multiple hats. I have you. I got your back always.
Great, wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show with me today. We are excited that we got a chance to chat with Kassandra, and everybody, please be sure that you go and follow her on Facebook, that you go by her website, check out her website, follow her on Amazon, pick up Multiple Motives again, which is free, and we're going to keep in contact with her so we'll know when she's going to be doing some signings. She may even pop up somewhere before next March, which might be nice too. So you just never know, right? We don't know. So, well, thank you again for joining us today on Bookin' Around Town. And tell us the name of the book that's releasing again on the 20th.
Okay, it's The Call of the Wolf. And it's in the Marcia Banks and Buddy series. It's book number 3. And its significance of the title is that it's about a motorcyclist who's also a combat veteran. And Marcia trains his dog, his service dog, to ride in a sidecar beside the motorcycle. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, it is. I can't wait to see the book cover. So I'm excited about the book cover. I don't know why, because there's these really cute dogs on the cover.
It is already up on Amazon for pre-order. Yes.
Okay.
So, and it's 99 cents through the day after release. So through the 21st, it's 99 cents. After that, it goes up to full price.
Okay, everybody. So again, another spectacular deal. The book is up for pre-order for 99 cents on Amazon. And so be sure that you go ahead and pre-order the book. I mean, you can't beat 99 cents. It's $1.04 with tax. I mean,
right. And it's also available for pre-order on the other retailers as well. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So that's iBooks. Is it on at Barnes & Noble?
Barnes & Noble, iBooks, and Kobo. Yes.
Okay, perfect. The big 4, everybody. So be sure that you go and check that out. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. And until next time, keep booking.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.